Welcome to The Woolly Way, a podcast specifically for dairy shepherds. That is, folks wanting to raise sheep for the purpose of harvesting milk. We cover all the things pertaining to raising dairy sheep here, be it animal nutrition, housing, healthcare, lambing tips, cheese making, and even some butchery and fiber arts. After all, if you raise dairy sheep, you are going to have wool, and if your operation is successful, you'll eventually have surplus lambs to decide what to do with. Ethical animal husbandry is the focus here, as well as sustainable agriculture. We want to provide you with the information you need to start and continue your dairy sheep operation in the best way possible for you, your sheep, and this amazing world we live in. So grab a nice cup of sheep milk and let's dive in.
With the popularization of the grass-fed, or with the rotational grazing in the 80s, that's kind of where the grass-fed movement came from. So, I mean, have you been aware of like there's a current trend where people think if you're having grass-fed dairy, like you never feed any grain whatsoever, and if you do, you're breaking the grass-fed rule.
Yeah, I understand that, and it is a bit misleading when you say grass-fed, and you're not doing 100%. All you can say is what you do, and we give grain when they're being milked, but otherwise they're only on grass. So I think, if up to 10% of their feed is not grass, I think you can still call it grass-fed.
Okay. So can you...
But you just need to be honest with people and tell them what you're doing.
Yeah, I 100% agree. So can you talk about, is there a nutritional difference between, the grass-fed milk and grain-fed milk?
Yeah. Well, there definitely is. Although, let me just say, when my kids were little and I gave them homemade formula because I didn't have a lot of milk, the only milk I could get was confinement milk.
Okay.
And yet they thrived on it. So I'm saying we don't want to be, like grass-fed Nazis. If you can't get grass-fed, and it's still, the raw milk is still better than any kind of heated milk.
Yeah.
So I just want to say that. But there's the grass-fed milk is going to be much higher in the fat-soluble vitamins. Those are the 3 vitamins we think are so important, A, D, and K. One of the things that you'll get in the fat of the grass-fed animals is something called conjugated linoleic acid. And this is an anti-cancer fat. In studies with rats, they found that if they gave them a carcinogen or injected cancer into them, if they gave them vegetable oils, the cancers grew. If they gave them saturated fat, the cancers didn't grow. But if they gave them conjugated linoleic acid from grass-fed animals, the cancers went away.
Oh, wow.
That's something everyone should know. Fighting cancer.
Yeah, I agree.
So the fats of grass-fed animals are highly protective against cancer.
Okay, interesting.
There's another fat it's in all butter fat, but I'm sure it's higher in grass-fed animals. It's called arachidonic acid, and this is what we make our endogenous marijuana out of. We make endocannabinoids. There are receptors for them all over our body, but especially in the brain. Those are our feel-good chemicals. And I think one of the reasons our nation is so addicted to marijuana and other substances is because they are not eating animal fats anymore. They're not eating butter. And butter and animal fats are the feel-good fats. And if you're not getting that, you're going to try to get that feel-good feeling somewhere else.
Oh, I totally agree. Both my husband and I struggled with, depression until we started adopting Weston Price principles. And, we go through like a pound of butter a week minimum, maybe more. And right now we're in lambing season.
My husband and I, it's about 4 pounds a week for my husband.
Okay. Well, I guess we need to up our dosage. Well, I don't actually know how much it goes through because I'm making my butter for my cows. So I just grab some from the freezer and make it. And I ran out because we're in lambing season. I just haven't had time to make it. And so my husband, I asked him to buy some butter from the store, and he's like, well, what do I buy? And I'm like, okay, well, get Kerrygold because I think that's grass-fed from Ireland. and he got just 2 packs, so it ended up just
Yes.
being 1 pound, and I've used it, I think, within 2 days. And I was like, "You have to go buy more butter." He's like,
Yeah, there
"Are
you
you
go.
serious?" I'm like, "Yes." And he's like, "How are we going through so much butter?" I'm like, "Babe, we always go through that much butter. It's just we own a cow, so we don't like viscerally see it so well."
Yeah, and your son too should lots of butter. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
It's the best food for them. I'm very grateful. I my diet was lacking in a lot of things when I grew up, and I ate too much sugar. But my mother always used butter, and my parents had 13 grandchildren, which is very unusual
Mhm.
for a non-Amish couple
Yeah,
today. Very unusual,
yeah.
and I'm sure it's because we've always eaten butter.
Yes. Yeah, I when I first got married, I had around 30 friends who had babies, and all of them had either pregnancy issues or childbirth issues, or the babies had issues, except for one, and she was Amish, and she was actually my grass-fed butter source at the time.
Interesting.
Yeah,
So interesting. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Um, okay, so there is a nutritional difference between grass-fed dairy versus dairy that is
Yes.
fed
And
grains. So, which,
confinement cows.
yeah. So, I mean, I'm a huge proponent of grass fed. I think that's an amazing goal to work towards. Semicolon, we bought a foreclosed property that was hay fields, and we had no topsoil whatsoever when we moved here 7 years ago. So, we're managing it, and we're trying to get to that point. And our first year with dairy use, I mean, they had so many health issues. We had troubles with lambing, we had troubles, with mastitis and
Yeah,
all these things.
we do too.
And so I was trained how to look for the nutritional deficiencies that was causing these health issues. And a lot of the vitamins and minerals that could address these health issues in the sheep were found in grains like, barley or beet pulp or alfalfa. And so when I integrated that
Mhm.
back in, they did better. And so what I'm trying to encourage people to think through is like, our goal is to be 100% grass fed, but you must understand your property may not be able to support that right away. And so,
That's right. That's right.
yeah, so can you explain, like, if you're in a situation like ours or how yours was when you first bought your property, like, how would someone think through, you know, this is the choice, how would they think through the choice to start feeding grain, and then what grains would they feed?
Yeah, well, that's first of all, you make sure that your customers know what
Mhm,
you're doing.
mhm.
Okay. Because if they want 100% grass fed, they have to look elsewhere. Okay. So as I said, we bought a grinder so we could make our own grain mix.
Okay.
And that saves us tons of money
Mhm,
because the grain is so expensive.
mhm,
And we buy local sorghum. Sorghum grows really well in southern Maryland,
mhm,
and we have Amish farmers down here. So we buy sorghum from them and we buy barley from them. Barley grows really well here.
mhm,
But you do need a legume,
mhm,
and nobody in this part of the world is growing anything but soy,
mhm.
and it's for the chicken industry on the Eastern Shore. So our field peas,
Okay.
and that's the most expensive part of it too. They come from Saskatchewan.
Mhm.
Some come from Pennsylvania, but they're not local. And we'd love it to be local, but we just can't find it.
Yeah. Now, can you talk about why you avoid corn and soy in your stanchion mix?
Well, we don't want any genetically modified organisms,
Mhm,
and the soy is a toxic plant. It's full of estrogens,
mhm,
and these estrogens do come out in the milk, meat, and eggs.
mhm.
They they've had this campaign they were thinking of selling the eggs as being good for you because they were soy fed and they had lots of estrogen in them.
Oh.
But they didn't do that because, yeah.
Mhm.
Hey guys, I just wanted to interrupt this real quick to give a shout out to our sponsor, the North American Dairy Sheep Association. NADSA is open to any sheep breed or cross used for milking. NADSA supports dairy shepherds and is elevating dairy standards in sheep in America. You can become a member by going to www.northamericadairysheep.org, or you can email the association at northamericadairsheep@gmail.com. I am so thankful to NADSA for sponsoring this podcast and helping me bring more resources to the dairy sheep community. Stay tuned for future podcast episodes where I talk to NADSA board members and the president about what NADSA is trying to accomplish in America for the dairy sheep community.
So yeah, you definitely don't want to be using any soy. Now the corn, we sell some local goat milk and he uses corn but no soy. So but some people are really sensitive to corn. And a lot of our customers buy our foods, and which are admittedly expensive, because they can't tolerate anybody else's milk or eggs or whatever.
Yeah.
We have a little boy in the neighborhood who had terrible digestive disorders and had gotten so he could only eat a couple of things and was losing weight and he was not thriving. Parents were so worried. And the grandfather said, why don't you go try Sally's milk? So they did. They got him on our milk and he started gaining weight and he got healthy again. But this was a child who was very, very sensitive to things.
Yeah. And
so I'm sure it helped that our milk had no soy or corn in it.
Yeah. I mean, after we had COVID, my husband was really struggling with what was diagnosed as as eczema, which I'm not entirely sure that diagnosis was correct, but our chiropractor said, well, go off all grains and just see what happens. And he did. And it started to kind of resolve and then it kind of flared back up. And so for a while, all he could eat was poultry from rotationally based farming management farms. Like he couldn't do anything from the store. He couldn't, and we've started adding back in grass-fed beef and grass-fed lamb. But I was just shocked because even the foods that were healthy were causing issues. And I think, my generation is younger, is learning, like, it's not just what you eat. Like, it's not just milk or meat. It's, you have to look at what that animal ate as well, because that can cause problems to you.
Yeah. And we just have, the health problems today just seem like they're overwhelming, and especially the digestive issues and all the rashes, eczema, everything is coming from the digestion.
Yeah.
So, How about broth? Can he do broth, chicken broth?
So interestingly, he couldn't, and then his appendix started rupturing. So we did take that out, and after having his appendix out, now he can do broth. So
interesting.
Yeah, and I'm not, my nutritional therapist brain is like, I don't understand why that happened, but we're realizing he did not grow up on a good diet. I mean, his
illness is being blamed on viruses or even bacteria, but it's either toxins or nutrient deficiencies that cause illness. Or injuries.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, Sally, like, I don't necessarily care what the explanation is. I just would like an explanation, because I've had to go, like, I'm having to go find medical research papers from, doctors in India to try to
find. You're just looking for a solution. Right.
Yeah.
What works for you is your science. But typically, you have to really pull back and have a very simple, very clean diet, which sounds exactly like what you've done, and eliminate all those toxins.
Well, and we're in that process.
I would say the most important thing for you is to make sure you don't have Wi-Fi in your house.
Yes.
It's always turned off.
The other thing that we just discovered this year that we've been doing is sauna therapy in combination with niacin. And then he's going to start a sauna. It's a detox where you take really targeted doses of saturated fats and oils, and then you take niacin, and then you get into the sauna, and it's able to pull toxins out of your own fat. And so once he started just the niacin and the sauna therapy, we saw huge improvement in his health. And so I'm really excited once he's
wonderful.
Yeah.
Now this is steam sauna, right?
It's what?
Steam sauna or infrared?
It's
Steam sauna or infrared sauna?
It is infrared sauna.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I would love to build a steam sauna on our property, but that hasn't happened yet. But since we purchased the home sauna, it's been interesting because people have kind of come out of the woodwork who also have saunas, and they've been sharing like, oh, we have family in Norway, and like this is what you do. You just go into the sauna as a family and you sweat out everything, you feel better, and you all feel bonded as a family. And I'm like, that's so weird. But it's so cool. So yes, so our health journey has been very interesting, and we've had to, go into very alternative.
And can your husband do milk? Can he do the raw milk?
We just have been able to reintroduce fermented sheep milk. So he wasn't able to do any dairy for a while. We can do butter now from our own cow. It's been interesting because he had to go into this very limited, restricted diet, and it was awful. And then what we realized was if we fermented the food and he ate the fermented version of it for a while, then we could reintroduce it back into his diet. So, and then we just realized, I mean, we ate fermented foods occasionally, and then, took encapsulated probiotics, but it really hit home this last fall. Like, he has to have a fermented something multiple times a day in order for his system to work. So, yeah. So, I mean, it's
well, it sounds like you're doing all the right thing.
I'm doing my best. So, anyway, okay. So that was a really fun tangent. So, okay. So have you done anything to improve your pastures for the cows, or have you just done rotationally grazing?
It's basically just rotational grazing. When we first came, we spread gypsum.
Oh, okay.
On our pastures, which is so that's is that it's not magnesium sulfate, it's calcium sulfate.
Okay. So you did use some minerals,
and that's all we did. We planted with perennials, and then we just started grazing. We do mow a couple times a year because dairy cows tend to be kind of picky, and they leave the tall stuff.
Yeah.
So if after 2 or 3 grazings, you've just got tall stuff they won't eat. So we do bush hog.
Okay.
Maybe twice a year.
Okay. Okay.
I don't know. Sheep eat everything down. So
they can be kind of picky too. It's been interesting. My sheep anyway, they kind of compete with the cows. So we have to manage like who gets put over a spot first, because they will.
Yeah, the dry cows are not as picky. So basically, we've developed this system where first we put the dairy cows in, the next day we put the dry cows in.
Okay.
And then we let it lie like that.
Okay, interesting.
But we still have to mow a couple times a year.
Yeah, and
we put the dry cows in, and that was everything that was left.
Oh, okay. The dry cows do. And because we have noticed our rams are far less picky, and our yearling ewes are far less picky than the dairy ewes. So maybe it's if they're lactating.
Yeah. Once they start lactating, they get picky. That's our experience.
Gotcha. Oh, goodness. Okay. So what?
Our other problem last year is we had a drought, and then we had very hot weather, and we had no clover, very, very little clover. And hopefully, and so they don't produce as much milk when they don't have clover. So hopefully we'll have more clover this year.
Oh, okay. And how did you
want to put grass and clover? Yeah.
Grass and clover? Do you have issues
in your pastures?
Do you have any issues with bloat if you have that much clover, or how do you manage the bloat?
We never have. If it's really, really green, sometimes we'll put a bale of hay out for them.
Okay, and that balances
and that calms them down. Yeah.
Okay. And then what else do you plant your pastures with?
It's just about 10 or 6 or 8 perennial grasses and about 4 types of clover.
Okay. Wow, that's a lot of different kinds of clover.
Want to know more about dairy sheep? Did you know that I write books on the topic? There is my big book, which is published by Sawdust Publishing and is available on my website or Amazon and sawdustpublishing.com. In this volume, The Guide to Homestead Dairy Sheep, you will find everything I wished I knew when I first started raising dairy sheep. I feature other dairy shepherds and go into detail on topics like different breeds for milking, parasite management, milk sharing with lambs, how to set your flock up for the best lambing and therefore milking season possible, and I briefly discuss digestion and nutrition of sheep. Since writing this book, folks have asked me questions about more nuanced topics, so I have begun writing ebooks that are topic specific that you can purchase on my website and receive as an instant download and print at your convenience. Currently, we have Bringing Your New Sheep Home, which explains in detail our step-by-step method of introducing new dairy sheep onto your homestead and getting them used to you as their shepherd. Since there are currently no dairy-specific hair breed sheep available, dairy shepherds will have to shear their sheep annually and then decide what to do with their wool. Wool has a lot of misconceptions surrounding it, and I want to help shepherds understand that it is a commodity and not a burden. So I wrote my other ebook, 5 Uses of Wool on the Homestead, which is designed to give you practical ideas on how to utilize this amazing product around your homestead the second you shear it off your sheep. The ebooks are only available on my website at whoopsiedaisyfarm.com.
There's red clover, there's white clover. We use Lespedeza, which is a little yellow type of clover.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there, I don't know if you know this, but the Lespedeza will actually, it doesn't kill parasites, but it renders their reproductive system inert. And so it's actually being used as a parasite control. Like it's being recommended.
Really?
Yeah. So shepherds, especially, it's an absolute godsend. We have some in our pastures, and I can tell a night and day difference between the sheep grazing where there's Lespedeza and the sheep grazing where there's not Lespedeza. So, comfrey is another one where if they eat that, their parasite resistant goes up.
Yeah, we have comfrey. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And then with your cheese making, this is a little bit off topic, but do you use purchased cultures, or are you using natural ferments for your cheese?
No, we purchase our cultures.
Okay.
And we purchase animal rennet. We don't make our rennet, and we don't make our cultures. So we want things, we're selling out in the wider world. We want things to be very uniform.
Okay.
But they're natural. They come from France, and the rennet comes from Germany.
Oh, okay. So you sourced it from Europe.
Yeah, animal rennet.
Okay. And so the freeze-dried cultures, that's for consistency in your product. Is that correct?
Right.
Because if you use...
And we want to make cheddar, and so you have to have a cheddar culture. We want to make jacks. We want to make blue cheese. You have to have blue cheese culture. Mm-hmm. So the other thing I will say is this area is not very sophisticated food-wise, and we decided to make very familiar cheeses. So cheddar, jack, blue, and then we make one that's not that familiar. It's like a white Stilton, but people like it. So
yeah.
But nothing too weird. We don't do anything weird because people wouldn't buy it.
I wish I had $1 for every time one of my friends sent me on social media that there's this cheese from South America that is made by letting flies lay their eggs on it, and I won't continue on because it's
yeah.
Like, you need to make this cheese.
Yeah,
you need to mind your business. I don't want to make that. That's not very
Our foreman makes that cheese, and I mean they leave that milk out and it has to be covered with flies. It's not ready. Yeah.
No, thank you. I figured that we deal enough with bugs as farmers. I don't want to invite more in. I don't want any more.
Yeah.
So, all right, Sai. Well, thank you so much for sharing as much as you have. Where
you're welcome.
Where can people find more about you and your? Do you want to give a plug for Weston Price real quick and just share with people what you do? And I know a lot.
Yeah, well, the Weston A Price Foundation, westonaprice.org, and we're really pushing memberships this year. So if you go on our website, and it's easy to find, become a member, and you get our magazine and become part of our family. And So that's westonaprice.org. And then my own website is nourishingtraditions.com.
Mhm.
And we also have a website called realmilk.com, where you can find raw milk and pastured products and homesteads like yourself.
Yeah, and you can find friends
Are you
too.
listening?
We were on realmilk.com for a brief time, and a lady reached out to me and she was like, "You don't know me, but I just joined Weston Price and I realized you are Weston Price and I would love to just be your friend." Like, she didn't necessarily need to buy anything from me. She just wanted to connect. And now she's one of my really good friends in this area, and it was through realmilk.com. So
Well, good.
yeah, it was fun. So, and then
All right.
with your journal, so when you get the quarterly journal from Weston Price, and in it there are articles on current health events, and what else is in there?
Yeah, the first part of the journal is usually 2 or 3 pretty weighty articles with lots of references and the science and everything. But the back half of the journal is practical cooking articles, homesteading articles, farming. We keep track of what's going on with raw milk, and then we also list all of our chapters. And some people really like our advertising section. They say they read that first.
That's actually my favorite part, is
Anyway.
the advertising. I'm like, oh, what goodies.
Yeah. We only allow a certain size. They can't get any bigger than a half a column. And because we don't want anyone to have undue influence over us.
Yeah.
So it's very old-fashioned kind of advertising section.
I love it. I think it's so fun, and the advertiser's so creative with like pictures and getting little descriptors in there. So it's very, very fun to see. And then and there's always one article that just I think actually that was how I realized to start making kvass for my husband, is you all had an article on gallbladder health at one point. And
oh, really?
Yeah, I actually, now that that is what happened. Is it was a journal just in my bathroom, and I was flipping through it and I was praying, because I'm like, Lord, what do I do for my husband? And there was an article on gallbladder health, and I just was like, oh, like if your gallbladder's sick, you can have all these food sensitivities. And so I went to my fridge and I had some beets and I had some whey, because that's what I have in my fridge on hand. And I was like, well, I can make some kvass. There's a recipe in Nourishing Traditions. And I started making it, and it was a huge improvement with just that one little step. So, I mean, yes.
Well, isn't it wonderful that you've turned this around with your son?
Yes.
That's what we're all trying to do, is turn around they're just intractable problems that the medical profession has nothing to do except palliate.
Yeah.
But you turned it around with your son, and that's wonderful.
Yes.
That's what we like to see.
Yeah. Yeah. I am so grateful we found the Weston Price Foundation and were able to learn how to stop these, family trends and go back to embracing health. So thank you, Sally, for what you've done in making this information accessible to folks like me. And I hope to meet you again before too long.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for listening to the Woolly Way podcast. We hope you enjoyed our episode and have gleaned at least one tip you can implement in your flock right away. If you liked what you heard, please hit the subscribe button. And if you wouldn't mind, leave us a review. This helps others find our podcast so they can enjoy learning more about dairy sheep along with you. The Woolly Way podcast is a production of Whoopsie Daisy Farm. For updates and information about our show, follow us on Facebook or Instagram, subscribe to our YouTube and email list, and look us up at whoopsiedaisyfarm.com. Have a particular guest you'd like us to host or a topic you'd like us to cover? Fill out our contact form on our website or shoot us an email at whoopsiedaisyfarm@gmail.com. See you next time!